joining our webinar about AI and HR. I'm Scott Restivo with Crow Canyon Software. We'll be showing you some AI features in our HR program. We'll get going. A few people are dribbling in. Before we get into the actual presentation, just let me make a few comments. One is that if you have any questions, be sure to put them into the question box. We'll try to answer them during the webinar. Anything comes up after, you can always email us, sales@crowcanyon.com, and we will address your question. And we can also do demos personally with you and to address your specific needs if needed. If you're interested in what we're doing here, there will be a recording of this available. Usually we post it on YouTube and make it available to all the registrants. The link available to registrants after. Okay. So with that, a bit of housekeeping. We'll get going. Okay, again, thank you for joining, spending time today. We'll try and keep it to 30 to 40 minutes at the most, and I'll go right through what's going on here. Again, I am Scott Restivo, the CEO of Crow Canyon Software. We're doing a lot with AI lately, and it's quite an interesting field of learning, finding a lot of interesting uses for it and practical and safe and secure uses. Okay, Crow Canyon Software, a little background about us. We are based in California. We've been in business for 25 years. We have the GSA contract. We have Microsoft Preferred Partner. We're California Certified Small Business. We're on the New York City Passport Program, well as many others like LA and San Francisco, and a lot of other vendor lists and vendor. So what we do here at Crow Canyon Software, we have our NITRO Studio, which is a forms and workflow platform that runs in Microsoft 365 as well as SharePoint on premises. We have the NITRO Copilot, which we'll show you today, AI services that go beyond the Copilot. We can help if you have any questions or things you want to do with AI, we'll talk to you. We're doing a lot of development in that world. And we have a set of business applications that are ready to go out of the box running in Microsoft 365 and SharePoint on premises and Teams. And the main one that seems to rise to the top is Help Desk in various forms, whether it's IT Help Desk, HR Help Desk, work orders, anything that requires a request, approval, fulfillment, this kind of tracking processes. And a lot of times we work with custom projects for customers who have very specific things like housing authorities. They had a concern portal or privately managed reporting or other things like that that are specific to that particular industry that we adapt our help desk to be manage that. But today we won't talk too much about the applications. If you're interested, we can go into that more. We're really just going to dive into the AI and the NITRO Copilot. The NITRO Copilot is real world AI. We're trying to make practical AI safe, secure, real solutions. Our whole thing here is using a targeted data set. That's gives us a lot of the security and safety that's required, because the targeted data set, and I'll go into it a little more later, but briefly, a targeted data set is a known set of data that's been vetted by, well, the lawyers or your business or whatever. Mainly think of this like HR docs. HR docs are available already to everybody in your organization. It's a known set of data, known set of PDFs and files, and that can easily be used as a source for the AI to read against. And I'll show you some cool stuff we're doing with HR Copilot. We call it NITRO HR Copilot that goes against it. The same idea works with IT knowledge bases, where it's a known set of data. So what we're doing here is avoiding this whole thing of opening up AI to every last thing in your organization. What happened, we found, is that many organizations, and this is common, people find this all over, many organizations have documents and SharePoint sites and files and stuff all over the place because you never really had to implement strict data governance because you kind of knew where things were and what the permissions were. But with AI, especially when you go with the open data set, you end up having a lot of risk of exposing stuff from many years ago that could be outdated or have confidential information and things like that. But with a known data set, targeted data set, I say HR docs, research documents, KB, a knowledge base for an IT help desk, things like that, standard operating procedures, then you know that's already been carefully vetted. I'll go into that a little bit more. And the Copilot reduces workload for your staff. It's easy to implement in your 365 and Teams environment. We got it. What our Copilot, I know of course there's Microsoft Copilot and all that, but our Copilot uses AI technology. Microsoft doesn't strictly own that. It's not the only implementation of it. There's many things going on. We use some of the Azure technology, but we also develop some of our own that runs the NITRO Copilot. It's an end-to-end solution, meaning all the way from users can ask questions or do things in the Copilot, and then it could also launch into our help desk or request manager if the request or the inquiry or the problem or issue wasn't resolved through the Copilot. It works in conjunction with our help desk or request manager system. It's easily implemented, minimal configuration, we fully support it, has many interfaces, so it's quite a useful tool, and people are finding it quite something. I said HR documents, policy and procedures, standard operating procedures, employee guidelines, user manuals, all these kind of known data sets that are available and can be put to use, exposed to the Copilot, and then the Copilot will give quick, easy answers. I'll show you this because it won't go too many more slides. We'll get right into what's going on. I think it's really interesting to see. Basically anywhere and everywhere that uses specification, manual documents, and that kind of thing. Now, one thing, one of our success stories is with this housing authority in a large US city. They used it for HR docs, and now they're using it for other things, other data sets for, like I said, about the managed reports and the concern portals and feedback and things like that. But anyway, so a large city, there was that actually I think it's more like 300 policy and procedure documents with a wide range of HR topics. Now it's a targeted data set because the HR docs are something already available to people in the organization. They were having difficulty finding information because there's so many different documents. We have 200 or 300. Which one do you go to? And so we created an easy use portal, 365 in Teams, implement a Copilot using the targeted data set. They can quickly and easily find the information they need. Now, one area the housing departments, this housing authority is going with is to open it up to residents of their facilities, of their housing abilities, where every housing location if you live in a condo complex, you know all about HOA and rules and the CC&Rs and all that. So, we're working towards this thing where residents can say, well, what's the parking policy? Can I have what size dog can I have? What's the rules on late rent? All that stuff that's in the CC&R. So you can imagine it's very similar to HR documents, but of course a different nature, because now you're talking about CC&Rs and things like that the residents can use with the Copilot. And then if they can't get the answer, they can then submit a query into the whoever is running the management, to whether it's the housing authority or another management company, to get the final answer on it. It's quite interesting how it all works, and it's a good use of AI, safe and secure, without going through the whole worry about exposing confidential, sensitive data and data governance and all those things. So the users get 24/7 support. HR staff or any staff workload is reduced. They can craft email responses, lower costs, and a drop in the number of inquiries. It's quite successful. We found this. One thing we do here at Crocan Software is work on real world success. We've been through many hype cycles with the web, smartphones, cloud, and all that. And the reality is what really works for the organizations. How can we put this to practical use and keep the cost reasonable, and put the latest technologies in without overwhelming the organization. So anyway, there's two models, and we're working with the targeted data set with a specific known set of data that's been already vetted for any sensitive, confidential, or biased data, and access is tightly controlled, usually with a document management system. What are we talking about? Well, basically like a SharePoint document library or multiple libraries where you have permissions on it, and any document that's revised goes through a revision process. Now, it doesn't have to be a SharePoint document library. It could be a database. It could be a file share, things like that. But the idea is that it's a known set of data that is put in place after some review and approval process to get revisions done. So it's accurate, timely information that would be available to anybody anyway. Just like the HR docs at this housing authority, they were there, just hard to find and wade through and find the information you need. The open data set exposes you to some risk if the data governance and what we find is most organizations don't have data governance enough in place. to manage that. It's too broad-based. It could contain sensitive, confidential, biased data, and access control is very complex. So it's funny when we hear stories like they use open data sets and they find all kinds of stuff. Even us here, we found documents from like 2017, 2018. Everybody's scratching their head and not realizing that that was in some place in SharePoint or someplace in our file system. And lo and behold, AI, comprehensive, it has, non-discriminatory, it just goes in and finds it. And then you're stuck with giving answers that are inaccurate. So better to use a targeted data set. So our architecture is very simple. We have multiple data sources, whatever formats and locations. We go through our Copilot mechanics that we use, the tools out there, but we put them together. We have the user interface and then the output, which you'll see. I'll go right into that in a couple more slides, then I'm there. And then there's this feedback loop where users can give feedback saying that wasn't enough information. It was something that they have questions about, and then you can go revise your data sources so that the next round, that question is more accurately answered. And just to give you kind of a high level view of things, it's another way of looking at the same kind of architecture. There's a bunch of data sets, targeted data sets. It could be one, it could be multiple ones. Our NITRO Studio workflows, that's things that we provide that do the transformation of that data from a raw PDF or doc or whatever into what goes into the AI search index. It's called a vector database. You get technical here, don't have to worry about it too much, but it's basically, this is what a Copilot can read, and then our Copilot interface reads it. So this would be running in your Azure services, your Azure. We don't have any access to it. I mean, unless you give it to us, I guess, but basically it's kept within your organization. And then there's a Copilot interface, and you have different interfaces for users or for staff. So it's a very flexible architecture, whether you use one data source or one Copilot interface or multiple ones. It's very, very flexible interface that can adapt to what your specific purposes are. I think the next thing to do, I know it's a very quick and high level view, but I think if you stimulate your interest at all, and the thing to do is talk to us and we'll dive into the details. The thing I have to avoid on these webinars, and my staff tells me, is don't go into all the technical details right away, because it's like you start talking about cars or you start talking about anything that you're interested in and you want to get all involved in all the technical details and explain it, because it's kind of cool how it all works, how the data goes through the workflows, they calculate embeddings, and it becomes a vector database, and then the user interface and all the prompts and chunking and all that other stuff that we worry about, we're concerned with here. Your concern, I would think, is mainly on the output, our users getting what they want. So let's take a look at the actual Copilot itself. I'm going to bring over a live screen of an HR help desk kind of demo model here, you might say. And in this HR help desk, because here's a bunch of requests that came in. Requests can come in our system many different ways. They can come from email. You can just type it in yourself. You can go through a portal. But what we're adding on with the HR Copilot is now this HR Policies Copilot interface. Now, I want to emphasize again, this doesn't have to be HR. It could be an IT question. It could be about, we're doing stuff with caregivers who have questions about how to care for patients according to the guidelines. Many, many things you can do with this. And we'll go through some cases that are quite interesting, run through a series of these prompts or questions, and then get the answers and see what goes on here. But before I do that, I want to jump into this showing that this could be shown in different ways. For instance, you could make this web page like part of an intranet, and this web part, you could call this a web part of the Copilot, could sit inside your intranet page or other page, or it doesn't have to be just out there on its own. On its own like this makes it easier for us to see what it contains, but it could be embedded in a SharePoint web page or other page like that. And so it can really integrate quite well with your existing system. Now, how this is set up, this page, is determined in our NITRO Studio. Our NITRO Studio has a Copilot. This is part of your under the covers part of the application. And then in there is the Copilot. And in the Copilot, we have configurations that are very simple and easy to do. And you can see that this, you give it a name, you give it a title, and you have different ways you can use rich text formatting, welcome text. You have a disclaimer. You always have to have a disclaimer saying it might not always be accurate. Then you connect it to whatever AI. You know, we work with you on all this stuff to make it happen. The prompts, you know, you give it a prompt and you gotta, this is where we have the ability to tweak it, the Copilot, very granularly, because we have this control that you wouldn't get in other Copilot systems, to make it so that as you use the system, we can further tweak it, the chunking, the vectorization, all those technical details, the prompting, to make it so that it acts in the best way that is for that user, the set of users. And as I pointed out earlier, there's a staff, could be a staff Copilot and a user Copilot, and the staff Copilot might have different prompting than the user. Users are probably not as knowledgeable as the staff about the particular subject you're working on. So you can have different Copilots reading the same database, but they have different interfaces. It's quite interesting. And then you set up these pre-canned prompts, and then from the Copilot interface, you can go into actions that you can define here. So I'll show you that back on the Copilot. You can see that Copilot configuration screen set up the title, this kind of rich text here. You know, this comes from that. You can change it however you want. Here's the pre-prompts that I was just talking about, the disclaimer. That was all done inside of this right here, and it's very flexible and changeable. As you can see, I'll just go to this again. This is configuring the user interface. If I change that, it would change the title. This colored, if you don't like this kind of rainbowy or gradated colors, whatever. You can change the disclaimer to be whatever you want. And the pre-prompts down here, harassment policy, paid holidays, and all that, right? So let's go back to the Copilot itself and see this functioning that's going on here. So we have several pre-prompts coming here already. Simple screen, a disclaimer, and a button to go forward. Nothing much to it. So you say, okay, what are the paid holidays at Crow Canyon? And it's reading a document library under HR documents in the SharePoint document library. And it tells me Crow Canyon observes the following paid holidays for regular full-time employees, blah, 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 blah. It gives you ability to copy it, send email, send these sites, where it came from, if you want to open up those particular citations. And then the disclaimer, of course, is there too. And you have an opportunity to create a new chat or send a request to HR if it didn't. But let's go one step further and say, okay, that's nice, those holidays. Hold on a second. What are the dates? Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me get back here. Do this. Sorry, though. Okay. What are the dates? What are the dates of these holidays in 2025? Now, the thing is, it's keeping in the context of the chat. So when I say dates of these holidays, it knows that it's talking about those holidays. So if I go here and see if it gives an answer to that, it says the actual dates, because that helps, doesn't it? Like we just had Labor Day, September 1st, kind of thing. And now, okay, that's good. Now I can do something like, please construct an email to James, maybe it's for Stevo, at crowcanyon.com about these holidays and dates. You might even have that as a pre-can or something, but I typed it in. So it's going to construct an email. And it says, here is a professional email template used about the paid holidays. Okay, dear James, hope this finds you good. And then you can copy it and email it and all that, right? So that then you could use that as your template. So then if we go to a new chat, we can do other things here. It's like harassment policy, dress code, and device. I mean, whatever you want to put for the prompt. But that's pretty cool right there to get that done. Let me go something right here. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's go back and do another one here. Okay, here's something interesting. Write a 10 question. Do you know you could do this with ChatGPT or AI choice test on the employee handbook? This could be really good if you're doing training. Say you had training documents, right? Or caregiver guidelines or whatever you want to test. Write a 10-question multiple choice test on employee handbook. Let's see if it does it. And we, demo gods, you never know, but let's see what it does. This is live. I'm not, copying from anywhere. It's going to the documents and coming up at this chat. Here it goes. What's the primary person employee handbook? Blah, blah, blah. Correct answer. What's the Krogan's policy regarding outside employment? It goes on and on and on for all 10 questions. And then you could copy it. Covers key policies outlined, copy it. It's pretty cool, huh? I think that's pretty cool. That you can do that. And you can imagine, if you use your imagination there, you can also talk about maybe doing, like I said, employee training, whether it's, we're talking about HR here, but it could apply easily to any, like you've had a set of documents for, you have a set of documents for caregivers or operating procedures or anything, how to run a machine or what's the policy for anything, and do a test on it. And that's pretty cool, I think. And then you could copy it and then use it, and you have all the right answers right here, and set it up in a page. Okay, let's go to another chat right now and go to another scenario. I hope you're finding this interesting, because I always kind of have fun playing with this because it's so many different things you can do, right? So let's go to this one. Is unwanted hugging, oops, here we go. Is unwanted hugging, maybe you got a hugger in the office, considered harassment? I'm just making things up here in order to show examples. Hopefully you have other, you see what people really are writing in here. So let's see. In your organization, people would write other kinds of queries, but these are just examples of what can be done. So follow the chain here. Is unwanted hugging considered harassment? Okay, it tells you yes, it's considered harassment. Okay, so where can I report unwanted hugging? So I said, okay, how do you report it? This is just following the chain. The actual content doesn't matter. What I'm asking doesn't matter that much. It's just showing you this chain of action, that how powerful this AI stuff can be. And I'm only scratching the surface of what's possible. So where can I report it? Okay, that's good. If you experience it, believe in harassment, speak to your manager, do all the stuff, coming from there. So maybe you want to take it one step further, right? You say, okay, I said something about the EEOC. So we go here and say, where is the nearest EEOC office? Now, you guys who are working in, HR, other departments, you probably have more realistic answers or more realistic questions, but you can, that's why if we had a one-on-one demo, you can say, oh, we have these questions and these things that are common issues. Will your AI help with that? And most likely it would. So I say, oh, where is the nearest? Oh, you can find it right here on the website. That isn't good enough. I say, I am in Benicia, California, right? It's a nice town in the Bay Area. That's where I live. So, again, there's no I'm not saying where's the nearest EOC closest to Benicia. I'm just saying I'm in Benicia. It knows the context already. And it says right here, over in San Francisco, is the nearest office. Okay. Next is this. It's just trying to follow a chain of possible, maybe I'm totally making this up, but possible, inquiries and how they can cascade on each other. Okay. Let's see if this one works. Please provide a sample complaint letter for harassment, for a workplace harassment, right? I mean, it's not just answering questions like Google and giving you a whole bunch of blue links, it's giving you answers from this targeted data set, as well as reaching out to the internet to find the dates of the holidays, to find the location of the nearest office. It's a little of both. Both looking at internal and external where it's appropriate. And you can gauge how much it does that with some tweaking in our Copilot, which I didn't go into because it's kind of technical, but how much you want it to go in and out. But look at this. It says sample complaint letter. There you go. right? And you can copy it again, email it, whatever, and send it out. Interesting, huh? That's pretty cool. You got the quiz, you have generate an email, generate a complaint letter, and all kinds of other things. And that's not even the end of it. If you did want to send to HR, then you would send over to HR through the request system. I'll show you that in a moment. But before we go over there, let's look at the Copilot feedback. Now, if I wanted to give feedback on this, well, let's see. I've got feedback from other times this went on here, and I can look at the feedback and say was rated a 3, a 4.5. You can sort it by the rating. You want to go by descending. So here's the highest rating, or you want to do it the other way. This is a feature we provide that gives you the ability to look at how people rated the chat and then say, oh, maybe that wasn't a very good answer. So therefore, why is it only rated like a 1, 2, or 3 out of 5? And maybe the chat says, oh, I can see why this didn't give the right information or something like that. So you can continuously improve that cycle of improvement through the feedback. Now let's go look at the tickets, the requests, and that's the one I just said, and I said send to HR. Well, now it becomes a ticket right here, right? And that goes into the HR request system from the Copilot, and that's why we say end-to-end solution. Because now it'll take all the normal steps that happen in our HR request management system, and informs what are those things. Well, it informs the staff that a new ticket arrived. You can put auto response in. You can do sentiment analysis. You can do various other things that are common part of our program. Look, we've been doing help desk request management systems for 25 years. And I may be glossing over a little bit there how much can be done at what we call the first responder. You can have auto reply, auto characterization, auto routing, auto assignment. You can do sentiment analysis. You can do all kinds of interesting things, and we can go into that if you want to talk about it, but specifically. But let's look at what you can do with a ticket as if you're now on the staff side. Now, what I want to say is that same HR Copilot I was using for users could be used by staff also. Maybe you don't even want to expose it to users. You just, we did a whole webinar on user adoption. My friend Chloe in Belgium, she's very good at it. She was talking about, how do you get user adoption? How do you do change management to get users to adopt a new technology? So maybe your users, are a little skeptical of it, but your staff could definitely use it. So they could use the HR Copilot. But in addition to using the HR Copilot, within the ticket itself, we have incorporated AI features. What are those features? Well, I talked about the sentiment analysis, the auto response, auto characterization, which can't really show so well in a demo. It's more like you have to send an email, then, whatever. But I can show you these things. We have AI summary, AI assistance. What are those? Let's try it out. So say you had a long log of like a work log on a ticket. This applies a lot better in other circumstances besides HR, such as patient logs, or a long IT ticket log. But say a patient log where we work with aged care facilities down in Australia in retirement homes, and they have cases for the patients, and the patients have long history, like nurse observation, or the person had an incident or something happened, and they go on for years. Same with, we work with some nonprofits up in Canada that do like mental health issues, or they work with tribal foster children and children. This one particular organization works with tribal up in northern British Columbia, and they have a whole history of the child, foster care. So they want to summarize it, and it's like case management in the sense of a case, and you want to summarize it rather than have to read through every last, miles and miles of document. So you see, with the simple click of a button, we said what the issue is, steps taken, outcome, pending actions, and all that, right? Again, with the disclaimer about all that, you can copy that and do something else with it. Certainly speeds up the response time of the technician to respond, or the help HR person to respond. Then there's also the AI assistant saying, well, given this problem, what's the possible answers here? So here's assistance by AI Copilot. To initiate the offboarding process, please ensure the following steps are taken. Deactivate or revoke this, do that, do that, do that. And then you can copy that and send it an email or whatever, but it's there. Keep it as part of the ticket if you want. I'm not to mention we got a zillion other things you can do. For our custom actions, you can print it, self-assign, resolve, merge requests, and assign to someone, escalate. We can do all kinds of stuff. I'm showing you the AI stuff, but our Nitro forms. In fact, I should just stop a moment and say what you're looking at is one of our Nitro Studio forms that are constructed. It's way different than a SharePoint list item. It has custom actions, workflows, many other factors happening behind the scenes that make it into a true business application. Now that we're in here, that's something we could explore a lot more. See, we have this whole Nitro Studio apps for the HR help desk. You can do your forms, your actions, your workflows, work on the Copilot, and all these things that are available to make the request system act just the way you want, and makes it easy if you engage us to customize it to your particular needs. You might want different workflows, different custom actions, and things like that are on there. It's it's a very powerful tool. And if you're on SharePoint on premises, it works, and it also works in M365 and Teams quite well. In fact, I should probably maybe I'll do that if I have time, show you how this portal shows up in Teams. It's the same look. It's just like I said, it's a web page it could be a Teams web page. Same idea. Well, before I go there, I want to show you one last thing about this, which is that you can go into here, email, as a tech person. Oh, here's a general email, but maybe you want to generate an AI email. So you go here and it generates an email. And you can copy it, replace the body, append to the body of an existing one, and all that. Go here, copy it, put it someplace like in an email. It could append it. If you said append, it would append it to here is what it meant. It would replace the body or append it to the body here of this, and then you could send it out. Another thing that I found I did this morning that I thought was kind of interesting, I went to the HR Copilot. Let's go over here to the Copilot. And I took that content and said, I don't know why I say please. It's kind of weird. It's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just being polite. Please rewrite this. And you can put any text in here. People do this to say, write this email in a more professional manner. Write this email with a different kind of thing, right? That's the cool thing. You could write it in all kinds of styles. And I think you could even change languages or write it in casual or professional. But what I want to do here, please rewrite this. Please rewrite the following at bulleted lists. Bulleted lists. Then all I have to do is paste in what I just copied, right? See if it works. I just tried it this morning. I'm always finding new things. See that. There you got a much better constructed email. Now I told our dev team, hey, why don't we just do that at the beginning? Why do you have to go to chat Copilot? So it's like we're learning as we go too. But there you go. What a beautiful email, right? And you go here and send it. Email this conversation to me. I could email it to me, and it would show that, and then I could send it to somebody else or copy it and put it into an email, copy the clipboard, and there you go. And that becomes a part of the record of this ticket right here. Interesting, huh? I think it's to me it's incredibly fascinating. Somebody was asking. Well, I'll get to questions in a moment. Sorry if I haven't gone to them yet. We'll give it a couple more minutes. I want to see if the Teams thing would work, and I'm going out on a limb here, so I didn't try this before the demo. So excuse me if it doesn't, but it should. Where are we? Employee portal. I think there's something like that here. Maybe under human resources. HR help desk. You see a demos always get like wacky like this, right? I mean, demo environments. Let's see with employee portal or everything like that. Well, yeah, I should have done this before the demo, but I know it's in here, and it would have an easy link on. Oh, maybe this. Let's try this. Let's try this No, let's try this NITRO help desk one. Okay, this isn't the HR system, but it's the same idea that there's a Copilot in safety. Now you're in Teams, right? This is for an IT. Same thing, this has 5 prompts instead of 4, but this is a configuration behind the scenes. and it's sitting here in Teams. And I'm sure the HR one is here somewhere too. I just couldn't find it off the bat. And this is for the IT system, our NITRO Help Desk, which is over here, NITRO Help Desk, how to do all that stuff there, right? So I've been showing you the HR one, HR Help Desk, but both help desks are fairly similar. All right, Krista, you there? Why don't we take a look at the questions?
I'm here. Yeah, we have a question here about how does the licensing work with this HR tool and Copilot? Would every user that uses the tool need to have their own individual Copilot license, or how does that work?
That's a really good question, because what we did is a different model than Microsoft. We are not using the Microsoft Copilot, and we don't need their license. One thing we found out, and Microsoft's pricing is very hard to figure out sometimes. Essentially, it's around $30 or $31.50. I think I'm paying right now for one of our guys to use Microsoft Copilot as kind of a test. That every user starts to add up. But what our thing, you would subscribe, get a subscription to NITRO HR Help Desk, the HR Help Desk or IT Help Desk, and we would include the Copilot in it. What's on your side is we would work you to set up the Azure services in your Azure environment. Simple to do. It just takes a little bit, not much at all. Been down that path a lot, and that's maybe, I don't know, it depends how much it used, but say like about maybe $100 a month on your Azure cost that goes up, because it depends how much you use it. If you don't use it that much, then it's not that expensive. So hopefully you do use it, because that amount of money is minimal compared to the money you're saving by having these questions answered much more easily. So I don't know if that quite answered the question, but we sell it as a package. Now, if you did want us to do a Copilot to an application you already have that is different from our HR Help Desk, we can add that on as a front end to your application, because the action of send here could be send into any system you already have in place. But most of the time we're selling this as a complete package where we have the Copilot and the application in one. So you have a subscription that's based on whatever the price of the subscription is for that program. And anybody who uses it, you have everybody in the organization using the HR Help Desk, and they could use the Copilot. I hope that answers the question. If not,
Yeah,
we can talk individually with someone and get more specific.
absolutely. Yeah, I do see one other question here as well. Just what other departments could this be used for aside from HR?
Oh, wow, there's a lot there. It could be IT, it could be facilities. Here's it's all kinds of different twists to this. With the aged care facilities, one of our things is, most people probably don't know this, but it's assetjourney.com. Journey.com. Down in Australia. This is our property. Crokin Software runs this. And so with the asset management software, because every retirement village and aged care facility has to have a certain asset management plan in place as they interact with the residents in their apartments. And what they do is they have to track all these assets. But what we're doing with them down there is saying, okay, you just bought a dishwasher or refrigerator, write up a 10-year plan for dishwasher XYZ, right? ASCO dishwasher model XYZ, and writes the plan, because part of what they need is a 10-year, whatever life cycle of the dishwasher is, and say it's 10 years, they need a plan of preventative maintenance going out and predictive maintenance for the next 10 years. So this plan will give them the schedule they need to put out there. So that's used, and that's another kind of thing you wouldn't even think about. I also think with the retirement village and aged care, of course, there's a lot of caregivers, right? There's a lot of nurses and people take care of the older people and all those kind of things. And they have certain guidelines. What happens if this goes on? What happens if that goes on? So, there's like, for instance, right there in this niche of retirement village operators down in Australia, there's a lot of uses of AI to extract information. There's a lot of government websites about the aged care standards. This continuous improvement plan is tied into the aged care standards of the Australian government. So there's a lot of things they have to look up. What are the standards? Things like that can go. But generally speaking, not just about vertical niches like housing authorities, aged care facilities, California government, military, things like that. There's also the horizontals like HR, IT help desk, purchasing, everywhere like that. I think just about anywhere. Chris, we've seen a lot of possible uses for this. One was research and development at a food company. They do, always kind of kid around. They're talking about researching the secret sauce for a new variety of mayonnaise or something, ketchup or something like that. It's serious though. They actually make salad dressings for a commercial. So they have formulas and they do research, believe it or not. And then there was like a water district we were working with that had, I don't know, like 4,000 documents about research they had done on various, I guess, water facilities and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. Other thing is there's also similar idea like research and development with genetics or life sciences, drugs and things like that. We have a partner who does life sciences, and they have a lot of research documents on every drug they're developing. So, and then we're tying into academics. I'm going on and on, but you get the idea, right, Krista?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The applications are virtually endless. So many possible uses. It's incredible.
Yeah, there are a lot of uses to it. So what we want to do is that we can end it with that and talk to, we really encourage anyone who's attending this webinar, get in touch with us. Let's talk about your situation, your needs. Sometimes it's very speculative, and that's fine. We're at a stage in the AI rollout here where everybody's kind of, dipping their toe in the water or trying to find out. We know there's probably some usefulness to it, but they don't quite know the path to take. And not that we know everything, but we're learning as we go, and we do interact with numerous corporations and companies, organizations, government entities, nonprofits, you name it, education, all day long. And so we have a very good perspective on what people are looking for and what they need and what works and what doesn't. And we can take, it's like a big advantage over other Copilot type stuff. We can tweak this to a large degree because we are developing the technology ourselves as far as how things are vectorized, how they're chunked, what kind of prompts they're on, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it gets detailed. Let me just show you one other thing if I can before I go. And if I get over here, where is it? Right here. It's a long slideshow, and I give this presentation, so I cut out a lot of slides, but I do want to show one, if I can find it in here, that I thought was kind of interesting about, where the heck is it? Here it is, right here. Let me just drag this screen over because I don't have the slide. Well, let me go from the current slide. There we go. So, look at all the different types of prompting. There was a whole article on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there are 14 different kinds of prompting. I don't know if I put them all down there. There's a lot of places we have to go to learn how to get the best use out of this AI. Zero prompt shop. I was doing some of that, like, without calling it that per se, kind of like prompt stacking or prompt chaining. Without calling it that, I wasn't going to go into the details, but that's what you do when you go like one after another, those kind of things are there. So you have to think about, the change management and user adoption, prompts, all the disclaimers, the telemetry. This is the things we talk about and give webinars on, and I talked at different conferences on this kind of thing. And so, yeah, get it. Let's do that. Chris, anything else? Are we good?
I think we're good. Yeah, that would be great. If anyone has any, other questions that come up, if you are interested in a personalized demo, quote, anything like that, as Scott mentioned, just give us a shout at sales@crowcanyon.com.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And hope to hear from you. And we'll send some follow-up emails. Okay. Have a good day, and we'll talk soon, I hope, about your situation and how we can help you. Okay. Have a good one. Thanks, Krista.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, bye-bye.